Hello, I'm Snake Rustler, and welcome to the third episode of Kerbal Space Program Colonization. In the last episode, we did a plane contract and successfully went on a suborbital flight. This episode, I'm kind of aiming to end up going into orbit. I could get some contracts as well for testing things in orbit. 39 Science can't unlock anything quite yet. It would be nice to get this temperature, the thermometer, just so I can start sort of min-maxing things with planes. What? These engines would be useful for getting to orbit. For now, I'm just going to check what contracts I have and aim for that. So visual surveys, I don't really like these just because it has to be above 18,000 meters, which is just annoying. LV909 Terrier, I could just make a quick rig to test that. I could test that at the launch site, so I'll get these two. All the rest of these are kind of iffy, whatever. So, pretty easy way to test these contracts. I just test them at the launch site, so I can just grab a pod, put the engine on. It doesn't even have to have fuel. Put one of these launch stability enhancers on it. I'll lower it down just so I don't break anything. Get it right down on the ground. Launch it. It doesn't even have to be safe, just a quick, simple craft. And there's both of those done. That's fair amount of funds for that. 8,000. Didn't cost me anything, so that's good. Get back to KSC and recover. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Derp. I'm a derp. That's annoying. Anyway, recover this. Get back the funds I spent on it, which was already minimal. Let's see if I have any new contracts. I don't think I got any science from those contracts. Oh, I did. Not a lot, though. Now I have RT5 Flea at the launch site, radial decoupler at the launch site, and there's another craft I can make. So, right now I'm pretty much making tiny, weird, sort of really kind of stupid spacecraft just to test these things. I can just slap this on the bottom. Doesn't even have to have fuel in it. Doesn't have to have any fuel at all. Radial decouplers, Pt.3 Okay, and put this on the ground. It doesn't really need to because it doesn't have a launch clamp on it. And that shot off. Well, I could have lowered the force on that a little bit, but actually I can kind of roll this around. It's kind of useful. It's probably gonna run out of electric charge soon, but if it doesn't run out of electric charge, I can stupidly roll it around the KSC by trying to do this. See, that tilts, so I don't need to use the tilt ones. Roll, and then pitch this way. Onward and upwards. We're losing a lot of electric charge. Probably not going to end up going very far. Quick save here just in case I make a boo-boo. And we're off. And trying to figure out the controls because this thing is really weirdly shaped and keeps getting stuck in the ground. At this rate, it would be faster if I just walked there. Yeah, this isn't really helping. I'm gonna see if there's anything just over at these flags really quick. Still got the dirt from the old launch pad underneath this. Interesting. I never noticed that before. You can look out the window at the sky spinning around. Spinning around. Spinning around. It's rolling towards this flagpole. No, I don't think this counts as a separate volume. Anyway, it just counts as the KSC, but whatever. Report launch pad. Counts as a launch pad. Not getting anything new here. Recover the vessel. I feel like you will have gotten a little bit of science just from doing contracts. A little bit, but not enough. Look back. Now, I don't know if you could do this just at the launch site. Now, I'd really like to get the advanced, what's it? The hitchhiker module, but that's in space exploration, which is pretty far away. 135 science I'll need, so I'll need another 93 science in order to get that. But that's really useful because you can take a bunch of people on suborbital flights for contracts. Get that out of the way. I think the cryo engine should be a fairly easy thing to do. So should the Rockamax decoupler. This is really all I'm gonna want to do right now. So I've got speed records, orbits, and I've got some of these other contracts. Wait, hold on. Pucker off. Test flee. Apparently it didn't count as testing the flee. Oh well, I'll put some on the rocket. I'm gonna go up. Ditch that. So I got some things that I need to test on a suborbital trajectory, so I need to test this cryogenic engine. These things have an amazing ISP, but they consume a lot of fuel. Change this tank setup to liquid hydrogen and oxidizer. I will need to put a Rockamax decoupler, which is really big and annoying, on this thing on suborbital trajectory. Quickly put a put a Reliant on this, and then I'll put on, say, 5 of these fleas, if I can fit them all on here, which I may or may not be able to do, but it looks like I can. Oh, 6. I've got it. There is only 6x symmetry in this game. I should know that. So I've got a bunch of those. Thrust limit them down significantly. I like to thrust limit them so that they get about a 1.6 thrust to weight on their own on the launch pad. So, looks good. See if I can't get this thing into space. Should probably add a parachute here. And looks like about it. Let's launch this. So we've got a weird shaped rocket with a bunch of random crap on it. Let's launch. These things are thrust limited way down, but they're going to last at least a little bit longer. Starting a slight gravity turn here, pretty low in the atmosphere. And these fleas aren't going to last very long at all, so I'm going to start throttling up my liquid fuel engine and try to accelerate using this. Now, I only have reaction wheels on this. I don't have winglets, which I really should have added just for more stability, but I mean I didn't really have room with the boosters. And yeah, it's stalling. Gonna have to try to get some sort of stability enhancement on this. I don't have any reaction wheels. I do have some of these winglets. Which I guess I could put up here. And I could also put some parachutes on this upper stage, excuse me, though I don't really have to use 6, just use 3. Let's test this again. And 3, 2, 1, space. Launching. I have my liquid fuel engine on this time actually already. That's because I don't really have to be on a wide suborbital trajectory for this contract. I just have to be on a suborbital trajectory. So I'm pretty much just going straight up. Solid boosters are already about to run out. Throttling this engine to the max, deploying the parachutes on those, falling away in a hex formation. And these winglets seem to be providing some stability. Still looks kind of weird, but whatever. I just have to be fairly conservative with my fuel so that I can get up to a high altitude without consuming too much of it. Checking my map screen here, my apoapsis isn't very high, although I'm still consuming fuel and accelerating. The thing is, because I have to test this decoupler so high up, it's going to be a little bit tricky to get up there, but I'm pretty much out of the thick part of the atmosphere now, so I'm going to start having a drastic increase in my apoapsis. However, this liquid fuel engine is almost out of liquid fuel, and I don't want to waste too much of it, so I'm basically burning straight up. And it's out of fuel, so it's going to get us up there now. I'm going to have to add more fuel to this spacecraft. Now, in addition, I don't really have to use so many of these RT5s. I can reduce them to maybe like 2 and then replace a bunch of them with a pair of these RT10s, which provide much more thrust. Putting some nose cones on these, getting some winglets on top of the fleas. I'm gonna put some winglets on top of these boosters as well. I'm gonna have all the solid boosters fire at once. These already have their thrusts limited significantly. I'm gonna have to limit these as well. And about there's good. Add the liquid fuel engine after. And odds are that the smaller engines are gonna get ditched first. So I'm gonna increase their thrusts just to make sure that that does happen. And I'm just trying to tweak these thrust limits again to get them the way I want. And adding parachutes onto the SRBs, the larger SRBs. Have to make sure they're on the right stage. And I'm going to add one more fuel tank to the bottom of this great spacecraft. This thing's going to cost about $16,820. I will probably get a lot of the funds back from that though. So my funds right now are 256,000. I'm gonna try to watch to see how they're affected by this. Obviously the contracts are gonna change that, but nevertheless. Seeing these contracts, RT5 fleet at the launch site. That's basically the only one I'm having to do right now. So launch, that satisfies that contract immediately. Trying to keep the spacecraft pointed straight up into the air now. Unlike how it was before, the fleas are already out of fuel. Ditch those, don't need them. Setting my liquid fuel booster very high because I want to be moving at a high velocity so the drag has less of an effect on rotating the aircraft. And it seems like I'm at that point now, so I'm going to start to throttle down the liquid fuel engine, try to save some of this liquid fuel while the SRBs are doing all the work. I'm at 5 kilometers now. That's the first phase of the atmosphere, so that's a thickness level gone down. Now these SRBs are almost out of fuel as well, and throttle up, ditch those, and now the spacecraft is going to wobble out of control for no apparent reason. So if I can't recover this, almost. I'm usually better at recovering stalling spacecraft than this. I think I'm rotating too much is the problem. No, I'm gonna have to revert to launch. That is annoying. Though I suppose I could just throttle up more and get to a higher velocity. So attempt number 2, I'm going to keep the liquid fueled engines at about a third throttle at the beginning, which I did not do previously. I wanted to try to keep them pretty low until all these SRBs were out. I'm going to throttle it up to about 2/3 throttle when I ditch the RT5s. Now, already moving at about 150 meters per second at 2 kilometers up, which is promising. I don't really want to get any, I don't want to go too fast because that would just be a waste of fuel, but it's going to be a little tough getting all this stuff up into space. I'm throttling up again, trying to go even faster because I'm about to ditch the RT10s. Right about now, throttling up to maximum. And the spacecraft looks stable for now, although it's now going out of control. So, it's kind of a problem. Didn't think it would take this long, but I'm going to replace this Reliant engine with a swivel. It's going to give it a little bit less thrust and be... Well, at the altitude that I'm mainly using it at, the efficiency should be about the same. So, helpful. But just so I can get a higher degree of control over the spacecraft, because the LVT-45 has thrust gimbaling, which the LVT-30s do not. So here, following the same launch profile I've had in the previous 2 attempts. Ditching those already, throttling up, and this is on the wrong stage. That was not supposed to happen. Editor derp. Slight derpage from the front of staging. I forgot to check that. I really should have, because sometimes it puts these engines in surprising places that no sane person would ever move them to. But this second set of boosters is out. Ditched them a little bit too early, but it shouldn't matter. So trying to keep the spacecraft generally under control using thrust gimbaling. It should, from a stability standpoint, be much better now than it was previously. Checking my map screen so I can see my apoapsis here. It's only about 14 kilometers, even though I'm going straight up. That's fine for now. I'm just going to let this burn for a while, because I'm still in part of the thick part of the atmosphere. Until I get to 15 kilometers, I'm still going to have a reasonable amount of drag, but there. So now my apoapsis is increasing quite dramatically compared to that of earlier, and the spacecraft has still remained under control. However, I am starting to run out of liquid fuel. I've got about 20 seconds left or so. So I'm going to start to throttle down just to try to conserve efficiency. I might just have enough liquid fuel to go straight up and get to good altitude. So I got 11 liquid fuel left. Quickly checking my contracts. I can go from 70,000 meters to 82,000 meters for that, and this has to be 80,000 meters. So as soon as I'm in space, I can test this decoupler. Now you're not on a suborbital trajectory until you're in space. So I'm gonna have to go several kilometers before that. Anyway, the cryo engine, also not on suborbital trajectory again because I'm not in space. Theoretically, I could just be going through the atmosphere. I'm turning on time warp here after a quick save, just so I can get up faster. I'm now on a suborbital trajectory, so I can ditch that. That'll satisfy that contract. Now I have my cryo engine. Noticing here that my engine was on the same stage as my parachute, which is not optimal. Now I'm probably going to try to direct myself up towards anywhere of importance. I'm not quite at the point where I want to use the engine now, but whatever. Now at a proper time to fire the engine. Come on. Activate. And it seems like it's a fail because you have to activate it through the staging sequence, which is annoying. My staging was still wrong. So attempt number 4 here, but we know that we can get this rocket into space after fixing the staging again. Adding a extra stage in between the separation of the lower half of the rocket and activating the cryo engine so that I can wait for an opportune time, because the two altitude ranges do overlap, but not very much. So I've already got my engine in my first stage here. That'll give more thrust early on and some throttle ability. So I'm already getting more thrust and going faster. Again, following the exact same launch profile that I've been following the last 2 times. The first boosters are already gone. I'm throttling up here to compensate with my liquid fueled engine. My solid fuel boosters, the RT-10s, are at about half fuel and we're at about 2 kilometers. So they should last a little bit longer, although they'll probably last to about 5 or 6 kilometers, just by virtue of the fact that we are moving at a faster velocity. So these are almost out of fuel. And ditching those, throttling up my main engine to maximum. Looks like they got ditched at about 6,500 meters above sea level. I'm going to throttle down my engine a little bit, not too much, but I don't want to waste too much fuel in the lower atmosphere rather. So here I'm throttling down my engine so that I'm just barely accelerating. I'm going to wait till I get to about 15 or 16,000 meters before I burn a lot more, so that I have less drag and my momentum my delta V that I put in is going to push my apoapsis higher because I won't be using so much drag. And so my apoapsis is increasing now. I'm burning slightly northward because I actually want to try to see if I can't land somewhere towards the north. I probably won't get anything really special, but in any case, my apoapsis is a lot higher than it needs to be, and this engine's almost out of fuel anyway. So I'm just going to burn that. It's out. So once I get to a proper testing area for the Rockermax decoupler, I'm going to ditch that stage. Okay, go. That satisfies that contract. Now I'm waiting until I get to a higher altitude to test this contract, the cryo engine, which is now satisfied. There, and I'm pushing myself northwards more. I want to try to get somewhere in those mountain ranges. I'm expending pretty much all of my Delta V. I'm completely out of fuel. But both of those contracts were satisfied, and I got 3 contracts done there. That's 45,000 for that, 53,000 for that, and I've also recovered all of my boosters, obviously except for the small liquid fuel stage that I ditched way back there somewhere, which will be recovered shortly. I don't think I'm going to get anything special here now. I've not upgraded the astronaut complex still, so can't EVA while I'm off the surface. I'll have to do that at some point. Anyway, not much left to do here. Just gonna time warp over till I get down. Looks like I might land somewhere near those mountains, but it's not gonna give me any new science because I've already done all the grassland experiments. So just warping down here quickly. If I could land near the mountains, that would be nice because I only have, I believe, a crew report from the mountains. Going through a mild reentry here. It shouldn't cause any damage to the parts because it's not going that fast. Now the problem with landing on mountains is that the atmosphere is a lot less thick, and I slammed into the ground. That is not optimal, but that's why there are quick saves. So, what I'm going to want to do here is to try to, during reentry, sway back and forth so that it'll cause extra drag and try to slow myself down quicker. I can't really alter my trajectory that much, but I can almost stop myself from accelerating while I'm in the atmosphere. Pretty high G-forces here, going at significantly slower. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. And not enough. I'm gonna have to get my parachute out a lot quicker. Additionally, I could try to enter like this, which would provide a lot more drag as well. So I'm going to try that, but I'm being forced because of the drag pretty much back to the position I was at. But I am decelerating, which is a good sign. I'm just trying to rock back and forth here as much as I can. It's not really easy, but I'm decelerating slightly more, I think. Oh, that was close. Almost. Almost managed to make it down to the surface safely. Unfortunately not. Hopefully this will be the final attempt. This has gone on a lot longer than I thought it would be. Going on for, again, trying to just sway back and forth. I'm adding some rotational momentum as well, just to try to flex around as much as possible. And I'm not going slow enough. Come on. I have to wait till I'm pretty much out of the high G zone. So, here the problem I'm having is I'm coming in at an altitude above sea level that is very high. So, the atmosphere there is not very thick, despite the fact that my radar altitude, or my distance to the surface, is already significant. Now I'm trying to turn around as much as possible here, and I've got a lot of sway going on, so hopefully I can maintain some of that at least for as long as possible. Obviously it's not working very well now, but I've managed to get myself to a fairly low velocity. I'm gonna have to pull my parachutes very early and hope that it's not ripped off. Looks like I might get it. Come on. Well, I'm gonna try to do a cut here when I manage to finally get this done. See how long it takes. Whew. Oh my god, that was annoying. Just FYI, that took another 10 minutes and about 10 attempts, but in the end I managed to get it by holding a roll key, a pitch key, and a yaw key all at the same time and turning off SAS to spin myself up as much as possible, create as much drag as possible during reentry. I managed to recover the entire vessel though, which I am kind of proud of, but after that huge escapade with getting everything into space, I am going to end this episode here, so let's quickly see what we got from that mission. We didn't get any science, but, well, we got a little bit of science just from recovering things, but now we actually do have enough science to unlock basic science, which gives the thermometer, comms, DTS M1, Z100 rechargeable battery pack, and the Sputnik probe core part 1. Research that. Now we've got a bunch of things. I'm probably going to get the MKS system because I think it uses some of these sort of parts. logistics, hydroponics, recycling, storage. I'm not sure what mods use.